Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Talking BizTech. I'm your host, Saqif, and today we are going to explore digital banking and commercial finance. But before we do that, I just want to request all of you to make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more podcasts like this. And I want to thank uh, two tech startups. One is All Innovative Solution for making this happen. Another is Revelio, which is tech startup from Silicon Valley in California, Los Angeles, and they are a tech startup who helps entrepreneurs with media and software solutions. And back to the topic. So, what is digital banking? According to Forbes magazine, digital banking combines mobile and online banking under one umbrella. So you can access your everyday banking features using your computer and mobile phones. It is empowering cashless transaction at a wide swath of stores. Digital banking isn't the future. It is happening right now. More and more people are banking digitally, and because of the pandemic, and um, this can be a problem as well in some developing countries. The reason is people have to force themselves to go to the bank physically in developing countries because of the hackers and the scammers. So digital banking is not possible in developing countries since they're still affected by the pandemic. Online banking and mobile banking allows you to access your banking features. I mean, you are you're not only checking your balance and paying your bills, but you're also applying. You can also apply for the bank loan and order checks. See, modern technology is the accelerating the innovation and also changing the financial industry. So my guest for today is Elizabeth Canon, who is an expert on commercial finance. She's also an entrepreneur and she has her own podcast. So let me just go ahead and bring her on Talking Biz Tech. Elizabeth, thank you so much for your
Hi,
time. Hi.
how's it
Thank you.
going, Keith? Super excited to be here.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. It's going all right. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain. It's just another beautiful day in sunny San Diego.
Oh, wow. That's great. It's same thing here in Waterloo, Ontario. Well, it was a thunder. There was a thunderstorm, and now all of a sudden it's all sunny all of a sudden. So complicated weather, right?
Yes,
Um,
sunshine after the rain.
oh, yeah. So, Elizabeth, ma'am, before we dive into digital banking and commercial finance, I just want to get to know you a little better. So, can you tell me about your educational background?
Yeah, so my educational background is kind of all over the place. So when I first decided I was going to go to school, well, first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to go to FDIM. It's a fashion design institute in Los Angeles. But my parents said, maybe that's not the best plan. Maybe you should get a 4-year degree. So I went to Arizona State University, which is in Arizona, United States. And so I kind of wandered around there. I really had no plan, didn't know what I wanted to do for a living or anything like that. So when I finally figured it out, I decided I was going to try to get into the business school. But unfortunately, due to my shenanigans, my freshman year of college, that didn't happen. So I ended up getting a degree in communication. So I'm essentially an expert at researching and writing papers. If anyone needs a paper written, just hit me up, let me know. And then after kind of bouncing around in the corporate world for a little bit, actually, I was in commercial finance when I was kind of having a little bit of, I guess, maybe a midlife crisis. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I decided I was going to look into becoming a marriage and family therapist. So I found a school called Toro University Worldwide, and I took their marriage and family therapy program, got my master's degree in that, but realized quickly that I'm not cut out to be a therapist. So I have a degree in that, but I'm not a therapist. So that's and then yeah, I got a couple certifications and stuff, and various things along the way. Yeah, master's degree in family therapy that I don't really use except for talking to clients and stuff like that, I guess.
That's impressive that you did your undergrad in communication. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then Tara, you wanted to be a therapist, and then you also pursued other certification. Now, I wanna know something. How did you get into the path of entrepreneurship?
So entrepreneurship is kind of something that was a long time coming for me. I was that little girl you'd see on the corner, of the neighborhood with the lemonade stand, like asking my parents for help to set up the little counter and make signs and stuff like that. I did that, and then let me see. A friend of mine wanted to go to space camp, so we actually found a fundraiser that we could go door to door selling, things like that. I helped her earn money for that, and then, you know, you probably have never heard of this, but there used to be back in the 90s when I was growing up a series of books called The Babysitter's Club. And it was basically a group of girls who would, I think there was like 5 or 6 of them, and they were all babysitters and, had all these kids that they watched. So it kind of inspired me. So me and 2 of my friends decided to form a babysitters club in a neighborhood of about 500 houses. So my friend, it was kind of when computers were just coming into the household. They weren't common. Not everybody had them. And we had the printer with like the holes, and you'd had to like rip the paper off the sides. So we printed out as many flyers as we possibly could, and put it in the mailbox. It's Heather, Elizabeth, and Emily. We can babysit for your kids, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then we even made a guarantee that if one of us can't, we'll find someone who can, which for 3 girls in a 500 house neighborhood full of a bunch of families was
Wow.
a little bit ambitious. It kind of, shot us in the foot a couple times, but we did. We babysat, all 3 of us, every single weekend. We had plenty of business. So that's kind of where I got started. Then, I ended up going, to college. I went the corporate route, and, I had a couple of business ideas along the way. I remember in the early 2000s, I had a business idea. I can't really remember what it was, but I went to, it was like a small business association type office where I was living in Phoenix, Arizona at the time. And they kind of talked me out of it. They said my idea was redundant, so I kind of gave up. And then actually back in 2015, I had an idea for an app, and then life got too busy for that.
Wow. That's
Uh,
impressive.
so yeah, I always have these ideas that pop in. So, but this time when I actually went to it, the story is basically I just, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to even do. I was kind of like coming to a crossroads in commercial finance, and it turned out I wasn't happy with the it's not that I don't love the industry, I just didn't love the circumstances that I was in. So I found myself working for a broker out here in San Diego, and he was just not pleasant to work for. I guess let's just put it like that. And so I did something I've never done in all my life. I literally quit without notice. I did make sure I wrapped up all my
Wow.
files and everything because I knew it'd be passed on to someone else. But I basically, on a Friday, I got my paycheck, and I sent him an email on Sunday. I'm like, that's it. I've had it. Like, I'd rather do gig work. I'd rather do anything than work for this abusive person one more day. So I had a trip planned to Las Vegas with my husband, and we were sitting in our hotel room, drinking champagne, just kind of like talking about life. And he's like, why don't you go on your own? I was like, I don't know if I can. Like, I don't know, but working for that broker taught me that I didn't have to be a bank to work for myself in commercial finance. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how Zena Financial Services got started. And, I learned the ropes from someone, and, no matter what I think about him now, he had his important place in my life. And so basically I was forced, I guess is the long and short of it. It was kind of like that kick in the pants that I needed to go ahead and go on my own.
Yeah, like these are very depressing when you're doing a job and when you're like harassed or if your boss is abusive, right? But
Yes,
you know what? Things went well with you because and especially your husband was very supportive.
yes.
And matter of fact, my next question actually to you is, can you tell me about your own business? So it's called Zena Financial Services.
Yes.
And what services do you provide to the entrepreneurs? I just want to show a banner to my
Oh,
audience.
awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah. So we are a licensed commercial finance brokerage based out of Chula Vista, California. And so our main focus is equipment finance, and equipment finance is basically any equipment that a business needs to generate revenue or save money, or maybe, automation. In addition, we also provide capital in the form of term loans and lines of credit. So we offer a couple other financial vehicles as well, but the main ones is equipment finance, term loans, and lines of credit.
Oh, makes sense. Makes sense. And also, I want to know, like, when did you start? When did you start this venture?
So I actually started it the registration date was April of 2018. So it's been a little over 3 years, and it's amazing how time has flown. Yeah, after that first year, it felt like forever, but every subsequent year after that has gone faster and faster.
Wow, wow, that's yeah. Time flies, right?
Yes.
Uh, and also, Elizabeth, one thing I want to know, like, what communication tool are you using to meet your clients? Like, are you I mean, pandemic is pretty. I mean, pandemic slowed down in United States of America and Canada. So I just want to know: are you meeting them in person? And well, and also, actually, I'll ask the second part later. But I just want to know what communication tool are you using right now?
Well, truthfully, I've never had to meet clients in person, and unless, of course, I wanted to. I mean, there's always something to be said about meeting someone face to face, and a handshake and a smile, and sharing a meal or a beverage or something like that. But truthfully, I don't do a lot of business in California. Not that there's not business to be had, but it just so happens that the markets that we kind of fell into, it wasn't strategic at all, but the markets that we fell into that were growing were in different parts of the United States. So, but the tools that we use, as I think most people can say, video chat, such as Zoom or what is it, Google Meet or whatever. And then social media has been huge. I've met a lot of people on LinkedIn. We do outreaches on there. And then, of course, across the various social media, we have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, of course, Twitter. And most recently, I've kind of dabbled in Clubhouse a little bit. I haven't really done too much on there. I was, doing a weekly room on there for a while, but then, of course, the summer came and had vacation plans and all this. So that's kind of put a hold on that. But I did enjoy that as well. I've met a lot of people on Clubhouse as well. So, and then, of course, there's the good old fashioned phone. So those are really, I would say, the main tools that we've been using. And there's probably some I'm forgetting, but those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Wow, that's impressive. And Elizabeth, there are a lot of videos where people say taxes are evil. I mean, and then there are also videos that says that are saying that taxes are good for people. So I think individuals can be financially smart if they know how to save money from their taxes. So I know Zena Financial Service and you yourself help that. Can you just tell me how do you go about doing that?
So we have, well, here in the United States,
Yeah,
there are tax benefits to number one being, a business. They get tax benefits that individuals don't necessarily get, but also the nature of the type of loans that we offer. So if you go to my website zenafinancial.com, there's actually a tools tab, and it has I think it's section 179 calculator. So what that does is, like, say you are looking to finance equipment for let's say $50,000, right? And so you put that amount in there and some other information that you might have about that, and it'll actually spit out what your true payment is after all your tax savings, and it shows what your tax savings are. So Section 179, I don't know if this translates to your international audience, but here in the United States, it's basically an IRS, our Internal Revenue Service tax code, that allows businesses to save up to a certain dollar amount. I think this year it might be $1 million. Don't quote me on that, though. It changes every year.
yeah, it
But
does.
yeah, you get a certain tax benefit
Mhm.
for purchasing or even financing equipment. And then the other tax savings is when you're in a true business loan. And I'm not a certified planner or anything like that. I'm not a tax pro, but this is just general information, okay?
Yes,
But there
that's
are
fine. Yep.
certain, yeah, I always have to give that preface because people will jump all over me like, you're giving tax advice. But no, I'm not. No, I'm just giving general information. There, you can write off certain aspects of the loan, such as the interest and other things like that. But check with your tax professional before you enter into a loan like that.
Oh, makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing that. Uh, so my message to the audience, Elizabeth is not a tax advisor. So,
Tax advice.
however, however, if you go to zenafinancialservice.com, right? Is that correct? Is that
Yes,
the website? Yes, and then
Dana
you
Financial.
financial.com, and then you will get more in details about the taxes and how you can save money from taxes. And Elizabeth, one thing I wanted to share with you is that there are a lot of tech startups nowadays. And I mean, Silicon Valley is producing a lot, and then there are other states from United States of America that are producing as well. Waterloo is pretty big as well from Canada, and also Toronto, and then other cities as well. So there's so much competition between these tech startups, and banks cannot actually cannot handle these tech startups, right? So a lot of them have to partner with tech startups. Like there's the largest bank in Canada, Royal Bank of Canada. They partner with a tech startup called Night Owl's Entity Matcher for fraud detection, and then there's HSBC Bank, which is partnered with two tech startups for anti-money laundering. And there are a lot of AI cases in banking, such as the location intelligence. Then there's churn prediction. There's service robots. There's call center matching, and then there's conversational AI, such as the chatbot. Right. So I have a question for you. Tell me about actually, how is AI technology and machine learning changing the financial industries?
Wow. I would say it is a lot, and it has been for a while. So one of the first, actually, when I was at Arizona State University, my first corporate job. So you're talking like 20 years ago. we had software that that would detect, anti-laundering. We had something called check kiting. And from what I understand, it was something that helped fund 9/11. And so what that would do is it would kind of just recognize like transactions as they came. So like one of our things was like, let's say you get approved for like a credit card with like a $500 limit, and the card is activated, and then next thing you know, we're getting in a bunch of checks for like $100, 200, all the way up to 1,000. So they've artificially inflated their credit limit to say $20,000, right? Because all these checks are just posting one after the next, and then they go out, they pull cash out, and then of course all the checks bounce, and then that so you've got approved for $500. Now you've taken a company for 20,000 or whatever, that number is. So, we had systems that would look for certain things, certain merchants and vendors where they would, take cash, even if it was an authentic transaction, like some guy just looking to buy groceries at this place, we would immediately, it would flag the account. We'd have to investigate it. It would look for multiple payments in a row. It would look for even dollar amounts. So, I mean, this technology has been going on for a very long time, but even to bring it up to present, I've had deals decline because someone had a criminal record. And that's not something I could ever know by looking, pulling your credit or looking at any of your financial documents. It just kind of like it goes into this huge, whatever, catch-all database, and it finds things about people that might not be obvious just from like, a human standpoint. I've had deals decline because they were a bankruptcy risk, even though from where I was sitting, everything looked great. I mean, healthy bank statements, healthy tax returns, great credit score on the applicant's half, time in business, like 10 plus years time in business, and thinking, how is this company going to go bankrupt? They're doing great. And then sure enough, I find out like 2 years later they did. So it's really incredible what technology can, calculate and discover. And it's kind of like, I think it's kind of like, like Amazon Alexa. I don't know if you have one. I have two in my house, and she's always listening. But it's kind of, like the AI gets smarter as you keep working.
That's true. Yes.
So I think that's huge. So yeah, there's a lot of things that like, there's always going to be a human element when it comes to, banking and finance and all that. I mean, you simply have to, but it's the AI has gotten really good at finding things that might not be apparent to the human eye. And I don't even know what it all looks at, but yeah, I was just surprised. Sometimes I get feedback from these underwriters and I'm like, what, are you crazy? Like, this is a great deal. Like, approve it. And they're like, nope. And I'm like, what am I not seeing here? And sometimes I find out, sometimes I don't.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of technology, and because of technology, because of the advancement of technology, there's so many digital banks right now, such as Atom banks or Sterling banks or even Tide banks, right? Where you can have like an account. We can have a single card can have like multiple accounts underneath them, and then Sterling Bank will help you with sending invoice pretty quick, real time notification, and then these digital banks will help you uh, with your saving goals and your spending insights. Now, I have a quick question for you. Can you tell me about the digital banking industry in North America right now?
So I would say most of our banks have jumped on the digital banking, bandwagon, so to speak. It's very rare where I come across a client, maybe they're in a very rural area, where I'm like, I'm going to need to see your bank statements, send me PDF copies from your online account. And they're like, no, I'm going to have to go in there and have it faxed. Like, wait, what? So I would say most institutions do have, they have an app. At the very least, you should be able to get on there, access your account, be able to deposit checks, be able to initiate some kind of quick pay, whether it's through the actual bank or through Zelle or Venmo or whatever. Be able to download your statements if you want to look at your PDF copy of statements. So I would say most financial institutions have jumped on board with that. And then I've also noticed, I never even until talking to you today considered that it might be due to the pandemic, but it kind of makes sense that it would be. I've seen a lot of apps, kind of jump on the like savings account or debit card bandwagon. Some examples, and I don't know if you have these in Canada, but we have a company called Credit Karma. It's an app you can download. It kind of keeps you on top of your credit report, gives you notifications. They recently have come out with a savings account. They offer a higher, I think it's like APY or something like that to,
Wow.
If you want to, and then another app, it's an investing app, like a retirement investing app that I have called Acorns. They offer a debit card. So it seems like as the need for digital banking expands, these companies are going to expand with that market and jump in on it because, as we well know, it's a very
That's
lucrative,
true.
very lucrative market. So why not get a piece of the pie if they can, right? So, but yeah, I would say it's the wave of the future. It's not going anywhere, and it's probably just going to continue to expand.
Oh, yes, yes. In the future, it'll definitely expand, and digital banking, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, that digital banking isn't the future, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
And also, the Credit Karma, yeah, I see the commercial a lot. So we do have Credit Karma in Canada, and also there's two other apps that I want to mention to you. One is the Bunk app. Let me just made a banner. So it's a Bunk app. Another one is the Monzo app. So the Bunk app fights. It's designed to fight the climate change, and it encourages you to spend money. So the more money you spend in the bank, the company uses that money to plant trees.
Oh,
So the
nice.
bank so the more money you spend, the more trees are planted. So that's the goal of Bunk app. And there's another one which is called the Monzo app, where you have the control of over your cash. So if you have a bill, you can split that, and then you can actually save money from it. So this is how Monzo app is useful to people. But I want to hear your thoughts on what apps would you recommend to the viewers?
Hmm. So like I mentioned before, I have Credit Karma and Acorns. As far as recommending an app, I don't know that I have a specific recommendation, but I
Yeah,
would say whatever institutions you do business with that you exchange money with, whether it's a bank account or a commercial finance contract, I think it's useful to have their app on hand just so you can always kind of stay on top of things, stay on top of your finances, stay on top of your credit. If it's commercial finance, stay on top of your contract because sometimes, I mean, even with all the automation, mistakes happen and there's charges that you might not understand. And something that happens in commercial finance and in equipment finance, and not every institution does it, but some do, they have something that's called an evergreen clause. So you might
oh,
think you're coming up on the end of your contract, but they might have some sneaky verbiage in there that you didn't read when you signed the contract, especially now with everything being digitally signed. We're all just kind of like looking for the next place to like put our signature, and we don't like read it like when we had like a paper contract, right?
that's
If you've
true.
ever read those anyways. But sometimes they have a sneaky little clause that will evergreen them for longer than what the contract should go. So sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's even a full year. So you think you're done paying for this equipment and that your payment should stop. And if you don't submit your letter of intent, meaning, okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep this equipment. I don't want to upgrade it or renew. I, just want to keep it as is. You have to submit a letter of intent to that commercial finance company that basically says, okay, we're done here. Because if you don't, they'll just keep charging you. And so you're basically paying for nothing. It's just pure profit for the finance company. So I would just say, I mean, because, you know, we go on our computers, we're not always logged on to these things, but just, you know, keep the app on your phone so you can get notifications, because they'll send you push notifications. You know, you're coming up on, you have 3 months left till end of term or whatever. So while I don't really have any specific recommendations, I would just say it's never a bad idea to keep the apps with you of the companies that you do business with that have a hand in your money.
Oh, makes sense. Makes sense. And thank you so much for sharing that advice. I think this is very helpful to the viewers watching. Also, Elizabeth, you have your own podcast, and I just want to know, like, how is it structured, and like, what is the name of the podcast, and also, can you tell me about it? Like, what is the podcast about?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting you mentioned this. We're kind of doing a makeover right now, but you know, the initial premise was you know, entrepreneurship for women. But you know, and my co-host Irina Jarova, she you know, she and I discussed recently that, you know, we're leaving out by leaving men out of the conversation. We're leaving out, you know, a lot of people that would have some great input. So we kind of veered away from that. You know, the structure was we would come up with a topic related to running a business, and then we would come up with 3 questions and both you know, answer the questions. But we're kind of revising it right now. So now we're called Self-Made CEOs. And it's because we are, like, we're both completely self-funded. We, you know, no one gave us like a loan, our parents, or no one ever gave us anything to start anything. But it's basically, we're going to try to trim it down a little bit and still explore these same topics, but really come up with ways to actually help and answer the question. Yeah, it's a work in progress. That's, I'm sure you can appreciate having a podcast yourself. You know, it's kind of trial and error. So we have 5 episodes up live now. Those will probably be the last that you see in that format that we have now. We're getting ready to change it and pare it down a little bit and actually answer the question, be a little bit more precise, and then perhaps we'll leave the chatty Cathy part and maybe put that on some like audio only type of platform. So it's a work in progress, and it's been fun. It's been exciting, and like nothing I've ever done before. I've never like been on camera ever. So it's definitely an eye-opening experience.
So it's called Self-Made CEO. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I just shared this banner, and I just want to request all my viewers to make sure to tune into Self-Made CEOs. And it's structured every week, right?
Every
Or
week. Yeah.
every week?
Every week. Yep. Once per week, we normally try to upload the beginning of the week.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, I'm already a fan of your podcast because I just love how you and Irina answer the questions, and it's very. I mean, the content is very valuable, and I can also learn a lot from it. And so we are near the end, ma'am. So I have one final question to you, and I ask this to all my guests. What advice do you have for the people who are struggling financially in this pandemic, especially people who are struggling in the developing countries? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, it's, you know, and my heart does go out to all those who are struggling, and I know there's quite a few. And my advice, you know, hopefully, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. I know it's not going to apply to everyone, but if you possibly can, maintain your credit, even if that just means making your minimum payment. You know, try to stay current on your bills, because what it puts you in a hole, you know, where it limits your other options, you know. So you might be able to get by on your credit card till you get your next position or whatever, but just, if you can, keep making those payments. Don't, if you can, don't get involved in any predatory lending. That would be, I don't know if you have it in Canada, but here in the United States, we have like payday loans. They're a cycle that are very, very hard to get out of. Auto title loans in the commercial space, they're, merchant cash advance. I would just say only use those tools if it is a bridge to money or revenue. Like, don't use those to stay afloat if you possibly can. Just use it as a bridge to more revenue. But if you can manage to do those things, it's going to be so much better for you on the end in terms of interest rates, late payments. If you get your utilities cut off, I mean, right there, it costs $350 to get your lights turned back on, and that's after you've paid the past dues. So if you can, I hope this advice doesn't come across as insensitive or anything like that, but do what you can to try to keep your credit good, and don't do the predatory lending.
Oh, well, ma'am, thank you so much for that advice, for your knowledge, insight, and I would love to have you on Talking BizTech again. Yeah, would love to collaborate with you down the road, and I I just want to wish you and Zena Financial Service. What does LLC stand for again?
It's a limited liability
Big
company, I believe.
Got it. Yeah. So I just want to wish you and your venture and your podcast like best of luck to you, and have a wonderful day, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and likewise, I look forward to doing this again with you very soon.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Yeah. Thank you again, and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds great. Thank you. Bye.
So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. There's a charitable organization called Food Bank who is helping the hungry people in Ontario. So if you want to donate to Food Bank, the link is in the description box. And I want to thank Revelio and if you for helping me with this podcast. If you want to purchase their membership, the link is also down in the description box. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.